Section 3.4, using slope to graph. All right, consider the linear function y equals 3x minus 4. What I would like to know on this, I would like to know the slope and the y-intercept. Well, probably the easiest way to do that is to build a little table. Finding the y-intercept is easy. To find the y-intercept, I just plug in 0 for x. We talked about that in previous sections. Finding the y-intercept is always pretty easy. I plug in 0, I get negative 4. So my y-intercept is 0, comma, negative 4. Notice that this number right here, negative 4, turned out to be my intercept, negative 4. Pretty handy. To find the slope, I could really use one more point. So I will plug in, I'll pick another number, I'll plug in 2. When I plug in 2, I get 6 minus 4, that happens to be 2. So I have 2 points now. I have the point 0, comma, negative 4, and I have the point 2, comma, 2. I can use my slope formula. Slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's 2 minus negative 4 over 2 minus 0. That's 6 over 2, which is 3. Notice, this number 3 right here for our slope is the same as that number right there. That's no happy accident. That will always happen. And this is one of the most important formulas we will see in this course. This is called the slope-intercept form of a line. And it looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. And the reason it's called slope-intercept is in this formula m is the slope, and 0, comma b is the y-intercept. Okay, so you're going to see some questions like this. Determine the slope and y-intercept. And they'll give you an equation. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5. Great, easy problem. Absolutely no work to do. It's in the right form. We have y equals all by itself. When you have y equals all by itself, the slope is the coefficient of x. That's a fancy way of saying negative 2/3 for this problem. And the intercept is 0, comma 5. All right, one that's a little bit harder. You might have something like 2x plus 3y equals 9. Go with 9, I guess. All right, find the slope and the intercept. Well, a common mistake people will say is people will tell me the slope is 2 because that's the number in front of the x. And while you kind of have the right idea, you're not in the right form yet. In order to use this formula, you first have to get y all by itself. So I need to rewrite this equation. I need to subtract 2x on both sides. 3y is minus 2x plus 9. And then I need to divide everything by 3. So y equals minus 2/3 x plus 3. All right? So before you tell me the slope and intercept, you need to write it that way. You need to get the y all by itself. I get slope is negative 2/3. Oh, I didn't mean for that to happen. I got negative 2/3 both times. Happy coincidence. Slope won't always be negative 2/3, of course. And the intercept will be, 0, comma 3 for this one. Now, an advantage of knowing the slope and the intercept is it makes it very easy to graph. Let me show you what I mean. If I give you the equation, y equals 3/2 x minus 2. And I ask you to graph. Here's all you have to do. You draw your grid, and you mark it. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Make sure you put a scaling on it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, negative 3. Okay, you start at the intercept. The intercept is 0, comma, negative 2. That's what this number right here tells you. So I put a dot at 0, comma, -2. The slope, now the slope is 3/2. Remember that slope being 3/2 tells you the rise over the run. So I start at my point, my intercept right here. That tells me go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then go to the right 2, 1, 2, and I put a dot right there. And then I could do it again if I wanted to. I could go up 3, 1, 2, 3, then over 2, 1, 2, and I kind of get in the way of my own writing here, but that's okay. You get the idea. Connect the dots and you're all done. No, that's not too bad for not using a ruler. That's one of my straighter lines, actually. All right, so knowing the slope and knowing the intercept makes graphing very, very easy. Let me do one more of those. What if I were to give you y equals -1/2 x plus 5? Again, I would make my grid, scale it, -5 and -5. Okay, this time I start at my intercept. Here's my intercept, 0, 5, so I start right there. My slope is -1/2. Now, -1/2, I'm going to think of it as this way, and I'm going to think of it as -1/2. So what that tells me is I rise -1, in other words, go down 1, and then run 2, 1, 2. And then I do it again, go down 1 and run 2, 1, 2. Now notice I could also think of this as being 1 over -2. Because anytime I have one positive number and I have one negative number and I divide them, I get a negative answer. So I could do this too. I could start at my intercept 0, 5. I could think of my slope as being up 1 and then left 2. And sometimes, depending on how you draw your grid, that's handy. It's handy to be able to move up and left, not always down and right. All right, connect my dots. That one was not so great. Got to make that dot bigger to make it hit the line. But there it is.